welcome everybody to the Start Out event, Bootstrapping to Booming. Great to see you here. We're really excited to have this dialogue, this discussion. This is Start Out's first hybrid event. So we have our online audience here, and I'm going to introduce our sponsors and then our panelists, and then we're going to press go and have a great dialogue. So let me first introduce our sponsors. I'd like to introduce the team from AWS. Come on up. We've got Daniel from Mexico City and Catherine from Los Angeles. Please just tell us a little about yourselves and what you're up to here and why you're sponsoring this event.
Yeah, so good day, everyone. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here, flying from Mexico City just to the event. Happy to meet you all. I've been with AWS like for 1.5 years. I've been a former entrepreneur, so I know we want to talk. I want just to meet you, and it's really important for us to open and to have like these support networks to all entrepreneurs. So I'm really excited to be here, part of the LGBT community too. So happy to share with you. And here's my colleague, Catherine.
I'm Catherine Olivas. I'm based in New York, actually. So really excited to be with you all today. It's actually my first time in Los Angeles, so excited to be here and to share this event with all of you. I'm part of the underrepresented founders team at AWS Startups. So we focus on groups of founders that are traditionally left out of venture capital. So if you need anything, any resources, anything that I can do for you, just come find me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much. Len, are you around? Okay, Greg, come on up and tell us a little bit about Startup.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming to tonight's event. I'm the co-chair for the LA chapter of Startup. For those of you who are not familiar with Startup's mission is essentially to empower and elevate the stories of LGBTQ entrepreneurs and founders. Startup is a nonprofit founded in 2009. They've got chapters throughout the United States and even Melbourne, Australia, I believe. And they offer a number of different resources, from access to capital, mentorship, events such as today, and also trying to build a community out here in LA. A couple upcoming events. We have on Saturday, December 3rd, a Griffith hike. We had a Griffith hike 2 months ago as well. So that should be exciting. We'll also do a partnership with Mountain Tech. And then we're also looking for additional programming board members to join the board for 2023. You can help me and a couple others plan these events and create community here in LA. And I'd also like to give a special thanks to Mike for organizing this event, for AWS for sponsoring it, and Len and Stubbs Alderton for providing this amazing venue space. So thank you everyone for coming, and hopefully you can all connect and get to know each other afterwards.
Oh, great. Thanks so much. Can you grab Len for me? I'm going to have our panelists come on up and grab your seat. Anywhere. Like a TV show. Fantastic. We have an awesome group of panelists, so I'm going to have them just introduce themselves, starting with Aaliyah, co-founder and chief operating officer of Reverie. Go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaliyah Daniels, and I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer at Reverie. Reverie is a digital streaming network that serves the LGBTQ community. We've been around for about 7 years, and we have live linear channels, so you can watch. We have over 7 channels available. You can watch our content. We also have VOD offerings where you can watch us in different places, like on your Samsung televisions built in. We're on Peacock, Roku, Fubo TV, lots of different places. And we work directly with brands to help to serve the community.
Yeah, we actually connected.
Yep.
A while back. It's
Yep.
kind of funny. Yeah, through Angels.
Yep.
Yeah, now it all makes sense. So yeah, I'm Manu. I'm founder and CEO of Alpha.io. We've been so many versions till we finally got here, which is kind of funny, which happens, I guess, a lot in startup life. You set off to like do this, and then you end up like finding way cooler things like over here. Just kind of like go there. So nowadays what we do, and I feel like it's what I've always wanted to do, so I'm very happy with the transition, is we do blockchain for real things. It took us a minute for the market to catch up to us. And so we had to wear many skins, but we're an enterprise SaaS solution solving for authenticity, resale, and community building for the biggest brands in the world. So we're launching a platform now for the Milwaukee Bucks. For example, it's a one-click magic link on your phone creates a custodial wallet. I don't know how many of you guys know what a custodial wallet, what an NFT is. Yeah, so the complication around owning an NFT is actually the wallet. Anybody that has, tried to like go and OpenSea and like buy something knows that, getting crypto into that thing, figuring out what the passcode phrase is, then kind of like figuring out what it is that you're buying, etc. What we do is like we throw that all in the garbage and we make a really easy to use solution that feels just like your regular phone app, but is powered by a really powerful Web3 engine. And that uses NFTs as counters to solve the world's hardest problems, such as sustainability. One of our clients is called Ape Water. What we're doing is you buy a can of Ape Water, which also has a Bored Ape, but it's just an and you scan a QR code and you mint an NFT that is a banana. Just like on your phone, you don't have to do anything special, and you start counting bananas. Every banana that you mint, they donate 5 cents to clean water initiatives. And then when you return a can, you get a banana peel. So you get a banana and a banana peel, like 10 of them, you get a perfect score, they send you a case of water. So this is kind of like small examples of things that we're doing, but it took us a while to get here, and it's interesting to think of where we're going to be in 5-10 years.
Thank you so much, Manu. And I'm going to ask our panelists to imagine you're in high school and you're on stage and it's a play and you have to double your projection. So your microphone's nice in the back in here. Go for it.
Yeah. Hello, my name's Nick, co-founder and CEO of Peak Metrics, embracing my inner drama child. We protect large organizations from disinformation campaigns. So our clients include everyone from the Department of Defense to State Department to large brands that are concerned about brand risk issues or sort of emerging social media narratives. That's what we do.
Cool. I'm Robert Shark. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Maximum Heavenly. It's a better for you cookie brand. We make desserts in the consumer space, natural foods. So we produce products that are sold in retailers from the small mom and pop shops all the way up to Whole Foods and Walmart, Sprouts, all across the country. And online.
Awesome, thanks. And just briefly, I'm Mike Trench. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Creator Up, and we make it very easy for companies all over the world to order custom video on demand. We have 250 clients. We have about 8,000 creatives in our network. It's a marketplace. And I want to invite Len to come on up and tell us about the space that we're at.
That's my phone ringing, so I'm just trying to turn it off. Hi, everybody. I'm Len Lonzi. I'm the managing director of this program, the Pre-Accelerator program. You're actually sitting at a law firm. There are no lawyers here. This is a startup accelerator. It's a program of our firm. It's been around for 10 years. We work with pre-revenue startups, just about every industry except about 3 or 4 that I don't have to get into detail right now. We take a warrant for $25,000 of legal services initially, and we help you get started. So where our companies go from here is they'll go out and raise an angel round. They'll go to Techstars. They'll go to Y Combinator. They'll go to another bigger, larger accelerator program, or they'll just go out and raise capital, depending on how far along they are. So I started here January of 2020. Prior to that, I was the executive director of the Los Angeles Venture Association for 13 years. I'm a member of StartOut. I've been on the board of governors for 12 years. I was on the programming committee here in Los Angeles when we got started about, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. So I know the community, I know what we do, and I'm here to serve you. This is your house tonight, so please eat as much food as you possibly can, because we have enough food to feed an army, and I don't want to take it home. If you need bathrooms, go downstairs. Roy at the front desk will give you a key and tell you what the bathroom is. The secret bathroom, they're not marked, and we like it that way. And if you venture out of the hallways for any reason, you may be stuck outside. The doors aren't working correctly tonight. So with that, thank you for being here. Love having StartOut here, and welcome to Santa Monica.
Cool, thank you so much. Great. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to share quickly the format with you. Tonight's program is going to go until 9, at which point you're welcome to stick around until 10, grab food, drinks, continue to mingle, and so forth. We're going to break this into 2 sections. The first part is a panel. We have our colleagues here. We're going to talk about the topic of the content. And the second part, which to me I'm very excited about, is the breakout. So on your way in, you received a number. And that number is your number for where you're going to be in the group. Each one of the panelists, number 1, raise your hand if you're a 2, 2, 3, and 4, I'm the online guy, are going to be moderating the breakout. So about around 8:05, we'll break for food, drinks, and then you'll hit your breakouts, and you're going to get a chance to get up close and personal with each founder. Ask your questions, get into the topics that are important to you. We're looking forward to that. Okay, so now we're going to get into the topics. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Who's here? Are you an entrepreneur? Okay. Are you a person working in marketing? Sales? Legal? Accounting and finance? Ops? You're something else. Great. We wanted to know who's in the room. The first question I have for our founders is, after you receive some funding or you're thinking about funding, how does that change your company culture? How does that change your motivation of your employees, your team members? How is it positive? How is it negative? Each of you is going to get 2 minutes to respond and just share how it changed your company. And then we're going to get into what you did about it. So let's start with Aaliyah.
Sure. So I think that once the conversation of investment started within the company, it shifted a little bit around the culture in terms of like what our overall goals were. I think when you first start a business, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I got this idea. I'm going to take it out into the world and do something. And then when you start to think about investment, you then sometimes what happens is you stop thinking about the consumer and you start thinking about the investor and what an investor wants to hear. And I think very quickly, I'm very lucky because my founding team, there's 4 of us total. And so it wasn't just on one person to kind of figure out, it was all 4 of us kind of got to play 4 co-founders. It's like joy. No, but it actually is really helpful because it's not on one person, not necessarily on just 2 people. There's 4 people who get to kind of balance out these things. And so, you know, my job as chief operating officer is, I like to say my job is to keep the train on the tracks. And so while investment came into the conversation, my goal was always to be focused on who we built this business for, which is for the community, and to be able to make sure that we're serving the community, you know, always, and making sure that we're partnering, because it truly is a partnership, with investors who understand that and who know why you created your business, what your focus is, and why you're going to continue to go down that route. So yes, I think that's my answer in terms of.
That was awesome. That was awesome. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's I think you never stop fundraising.
You're always.
I've never stopped fundraising from the moment that I started the business. And it was kind of inverted for us because I sat down with this investor really early on. Like we had like literally a pitch deck, and we had like a little website that we ran this experiment at this art fair and sold like these $30,000 worth of t-shirts. And he sat down with me and he's like, I get it. I get what you're trying to build. I'm like, damn, fundraising is really easy. And we sat down, and at the time I was in Brazil, and we went to New York. We flew down for due diligence. We were raising 500K, and he's like, you don't need 500K. You need $1 million. I'm gonna give you $1 million. And we're like, wow, this is great. And so we signed the deal, went through this entire process, moved to New York. It was part of the deal that we had to move to New York. And like over the year, he had wired over maybe 200K. And we were like, oh, hey, we need the money. Like we committed to like this branding agency, really expensive branding agency. Like, and you know, he sat down, he's like, girls, I have like some bad news. Like, it's not going to happen. Like I ran into some financial difficulties. Like, I think he's a dreamer. I don't think he did it. Like to this day, he's like one of my biggest allies, but it completely changed everything because I went from like having all the money in the world to having nothing, to having spent a bunch of money already on things that I would have not spent because I would have maybe like tested product market fit a little bit better, like understood like the business. So it changed the company culture into like hustle mode completely. I think we've been in hustle mode since. And it's funny because we've raised like close to 2 million, and we're probably going to close another 3 by the end of the year, but I have never seen the company bank account have $1 million. You know, it's always been like piecemeals of like, I really need 35K this month. And then Crazy Angels like signs a safe, like sends over 35K. Like we've been around for almost 10 years. So 1.6 million is not a lot of money. And so it was more about building the company culture of working with very little and being very scrappy. And it's kind of weird that the fundraising process kicked that off on us. So I'm very grateful to that have happened. One, because I got back 23% of my equity that he never got to convert. And that right now is worth a lot more money. And two, because we had to always listen to the market and always listen to the client, to your point. And it kept us really focused on building a product that drives revenue.
Awesome. Thanks, Manu. Nick, how did the thought of money or going through the TechStars Accelerator or getting the money change you and your company culture and how you approach this?
Yeah, so we had a few different chapters, I guess, on our journey for fundraise. We raised, or I should say, kickstarted a friends, family, and angel round in our first month of existence. Like basically, as soon as we sort of had our legal docs signed, we had some capital in the bank. And at that point, it was just my co-founders, so it was pretty straightforward, pretty easy. And our culture was just the two of us who've known each other since middle school. So that was pretty straightforward. We then went through an accelerator, and that's where we started to grow the team a little bit. And again, it was largely organic. It was hiring sort of within our network. And then we just raised our first sort of venture round. And I think for us, this is where everything is starting to change. You know, we're significantly growing the team now. And it's now a conversation of how do we take what's worked and start to put that onto paper and actually, you know, talk about it as opposed to just sort of live it. And also, how do we start to accommodate from different perspectives?
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Sorry, I lost my drama kid. So now it's like, how do we actually, you know, celebrate what's worked really well, but also acknowledge that we want to be hiring a diverse team and we want to be celebrating different perspectives. And that means that the way that we do a whole lot is starting to change, and also the way that we start to measure, you know, the company and the performance. It's now becoming much more real. So, you know, that's, you know, maybe I'll leave that there. That's sort of our journey so far.
Robert, how has money changed the game?
Yeah, so similar trajectory. We had a lot of early stage rounds, like convertible notes, friends and family, some single family offices, and I would say during those periods we didn't have a huge growth of teams, so that was for a few years. So it was very much like you, it was organic, and I think the checks were so small that people were like, or at least they felt small. You know, there wasn't necessarily much that we did to sort of expand the team rapidly. But about 2 years ago, we became venture backed, and that's when, you know, very quickly we went from, you know, we doubled our team, now are like 4 times bigger than we were internally, all within like the first 6 months of having received capital. Honestly, it feels like a roller coaster of emotions. You know, first everyone from our team at least were really excited. It's like, yeah, we have money, we have partners, like we're going to conquer the world. And you ride that energy for a long time, and new people are constantly coming in, you're developing new products. It's like, there's like a very strong excitement. And then that, like anything else, will ebb and flow. And so that sort of tapers off. And then I think there's this pressure that comes in once you have venture capital. I'm sure you mentioned it right at the beginning. Like now we have to start hitting metrics. You feel like you get capital, it's like lighting a bomb fuse, and you're just watching it getting closer and closer. And you need to either hit these particular marks or get more capital, or like the thing explodes. And that pressure on an internal team is huge. And so I think that's when you start having to rely on the company values, the culture, because the excitement, which is driving so much at the beginning, tapers off in its everyday existence and this high pressure environment, and it wears and tolls on people. And so you have to, I think, as a leader especially, be really in tune with your team. Like, how are each of those people handling the pressure? How is the team handling it as an organization? Are your values actually being lived? I mean, it's very easy, like you were saying, to have values that you're representing when it's like 3 or 4 of you, and they sound pretty, and you already know the dynamics. Well, now when it's like 10, 12, 15, 20 people, it's different, and you have to ask yourselves, I think, pretty consistently, do these values still represent us? Do they just sound pretty, or are they actually solution oriented for what we're trying to create as an organization to our next inflection point. So it's a real roller coaster. I mean, we've all experienced it. And especially in leadership, maintaining the cool while you're watching money drop out of your account, balancing emotions, the pressure that you're feeling during board meetings, and so many more people sitting around the table constantly. It's insane. And I think then what environment you're all living in becomes critical, and setting that sort of benchmark, that North Star, how you want the organization to feel becomes just paramount to your survival. Even though it feels counterintuitive sometimes to stop and really spend time on that.
That's awesome. Next question, and we were talking about this morning, actually. Sophia, who's here, one of our employees, sitting in the back, standing in the back, was our number 3 hire. And I asked her this morning, how has money changed us? How are we different? And she responded by saying, well, she gave me one of these. We used to be all about community, and now we're all about the numbers. And Dave is here, our head of product, and he's nodding too. What has been your biggest challenge with your culture after getting the money? And what has been one of your biggest benefits? So you get a minute on each one, and we're going to start with Aaliyah.
So we, obviously, as I said, we had, there's 4 of us in our founding team. So we started with 4, we're at 30 now. So it's a much larger team. I would say I kind of am like a little bit of a mama bear in terms of like, my team knows what their KPIs are, but like the pressure of like that, I don't really put that on my team. Like their job is their job and they do what they're supposed to do. The ones who know like the numbers and know what to hit, obviously they know. I'm not like hiding that from them. That's crazy. But it's really about making sure that for us, again, making sure that the team is focused on the mission of what we're doing. And everyone who works at Reverie is working there because they believe in the mission. They believe that representation is important in media, and they believe that what we're doing is changing lives for people to be able to see themselves. And so from a founding team perspective, I am always constantly, when I'm sleeping, when I'm like, every time I'm thinking about numbers, obviously. But when it comes to like my team and like what they're doing and what they're experiencing on a regular basis, I don't want them to lose the magic of what we're doing. I want to make sure that they're, and I think it for us, we've been around for 7 years. I think it's worked because they are still so inventive and creative, and they don't have that pressure that comes with, you get the investment and now you've got to kind of like answer to the folks with the checkbooks. Instead, they're still focusing on making sure that we're building the best product and putting out the most amazing content for people to be able to see themselves. And on the other side, obviously, I'm thinking about and focusing on the numbers and how we're growing and scaling and doing all of those things. So I think I didn't answer either of those questions, but it's possible.
No, it's good. Just to let it out. Let it out.
It's like therapy. I didn't know this was going to get
Yeah, I think it's explaining to the team, we're 26 and everybody thinks that there's an infinite amount of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I had an occasion with my CMO that I was supposed to be going on vacation that day. And it's very hard to go on vacation. Everything happens when you're on vacation. So I've just given up at this point. But like, and I got like the corporate credit card bill and I looked at it and I'm like, how in God's name did this happen? And he set like a crazy AdWords budget, didn't consult anyone on it. And like, we were just ramping up AdWords, like it was converting. He was really happy with his campaign. He came and presented the campaign. He miscalculated the clicks or something. And it was like 10X of what he was supposed to spend. Wow. And that put the company in a complicated situation that month specifically, because it's a balancing act. It's, we have big burn because you have big growth, but if burn kind of like goes out of control 1 month, you might be deeply in trouble, because if you thought you had 6 months before you had to fundraise, now you have 3 months before you have to fundraise, and fundraising takes 6 months. So you have to kind of like go backwards and do magic. And it's what she said, we hold that blood pressure. Yeah. We can't go back to, my CMO and tell him, now you have to go find the money in the market. Like, he's going to look at my face and be like, I'm sorry. And so it's explaining to the team that even though you have money, it's always a very limited resource. that we have to work with because we're startups. We're not, AWS yet. But, and so it's hard to explain, especially when they read in the news or they see you on magazines, they see the sizes of the deals, they immediately assume that, there's infinite resources.
Yeah. So I heard managing performance as one of the challenges. I heard managing expectations as another one of the challenges. Nick, what have been one of the biggest challenges for you with the funding that wasn't there before? And then maybe one of the benefits that came out of the funding?
Yeah, I mean, I think, from a challenges perspective, it's a lot of just, at least for where we are right now, it's a lot of getting our ducks in the row, like actually getting organized and realizing that, I spent several years being my own boss effectively. I'm still technically, a boss, but now I kind of have another boss. So it's a lot of just recalibrating, on that front. But I think, on the flip side, it's created more discipline, from a team and team culture perspective. Like, we've tried to actually bring the team into the process and get them really excited. They have met our lead investors. They get excited because it's sort of that extra little bit of validation that what we're working on and that mission is really important and interesting. So I think from a getting the team on board perspective too, like that's been really positive for us and sort of realigning around, what matters for sort of our next phase.
Yeah, benefit. I mean, just having more people in the room, I think, is remarkable. Especially, we spent a lot of years being very scrappy, very, 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 very lean. And getting more people actually served us. It was like we got more, and because I think we picked some good people who understood what we were trying to build, and they actually kind of brought like an influx of brand new energy and like enthusiasm towards the vision and new ideas and ways of thinking and creative problem solving. And it's like, I think you get founder fatigue, right? In the early stages when you're just like, the grind is really real to just convince people you have a business. You sort of, once you hit that mark and you, these other people who now believe it, there's like this pressure that comes off. There's like, the celebration of coming together, ideating together. And that was for us a huge win. That was definitely a positive. That wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the capital. On the flip side, is one of the challenges I think we lost, and I think one of you referred to it, lost a little bit of the scrappiness. I think like it was like, okay, now we're this business and we have the money, and so some of the things that really served us well in the early stage around being resourceful, maybe we weren't being as resourceful as a team, and we were relying a little bit too much on paying for solutions versus using the creativity that we've always had previously to find solutions. And being really conscious about that. So I think that was a challenge, but the benefit, of course, is having more people to ideate around those challenges and work together for solutions.
That's great. Next question comes from Maria online, who wants to know, give me an example of your vision and values, your mission, vision, and values, and how do you communicate those internally or externally to help to manage the growth of your company? Leah, you got 2 minutes.
Start with that approach. She's like always on the spot first.
You got 2 minutes.
I'm usually listening and like.
I know.
Well, we have every Monday morning, we do we call Power Mondays. It's a 15-20 minute all team call virtually. And we always have the mission, vision, values front and center. We actually recently went through a whole restructuring on these. We got a new team and realized, do these still serve us? And we're actually doing a 2023 planning process. And we brought our whole team into Los Angeles because we have a lot of salespeople that are virtual throughout the country. And we sat down and said, hey, here are the values. Do they still speak to us? What are we missing? Where do people feel like there's gaps? We did some exercises on writing down what resonated most out of our current values and where they felt like there were some gaps. So I think we went through this huge restructuring of mission, vision, and values to sort of accommodate for the larger team. And it was really meaningful because people felt a part of that creation process. And I think when they, at least, we're still young, we're still less than 20 people. When people feel part of that process, I think you innately inherit those mission, vision, and values more directly. But I think just calling out one, like I think our vision is the thing that inspires people the most. The values is something we touch on a daily basis for sure. But the vision is the thing that I think keeps people really, really motivated. It's the thing we reference the most because it's the thing that's like the farthest out there, the most unachievable. And for us, even though it's like a cookie company and you're like, don't you just like make cookies? It's the vision is about connecting all people through delicious foods and remarkable moments. And it's all reconnected to our origin story, which is based on our co-founder's mom's recipe of fresh baked cookies and this concept that it brings us all together. And so we want to be like, essentially, we're a company that's healing the world through like a fresh baked box of cookies, right? Which is remarkable when you say it over and over. And then when people actually believe that, and it was something that is an iteration of what existed before, but sort of came to the next level when we had more voices inputting on that and ideating during that process. So that's it's definitely a core part of how we operate as a business, is inheriting and owning that mission, vision, and values and talking about it a lot.
Yeah,
the people are so good. I mean, we all love saying it, and it's really fun to like poetically put them together. But I'm sure like many people here, I've been in organizations that have a beautifully designed poster of mission, vision, values, and nobody lives by any of them. And it's like, why did we even go through this exercise? Because living through it is actually really hard. Owning up to your mission, vision, and values is work, and it's sloppy, and it goes right, and it doesn't go right. But the important thing is if you keep touching it and you keep making it a priority, you get closer and closer to attaining.
Yeah.
How do we try the cookies?
Why
aren't they here?
I know. I don't know why I didn't bring any, but you can find many stores.
I actually love the combo of the language and the work that went into it, and then the comms, the communication, and the Power Mondays. One of the things that we do is shout outs in our team coffee that are stories that illustrate, almost like internal testimonials, to illustrate the values in action. Here's what Sophia did. Here's what Dave did, lifting people up, showcasing, here is us living our values, and that's aspirational. Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, this is an ever evolving conversation. So again, particularly sort of where we are in phase of business. Where we started was, even pre-hiring a lot of people, like we asked sort of the question of, what does the world look like today versus what does the world look like, with us if we accomplish what we're trying to do. And for us, a lot of that guiding light is sort of, we believe that the internet right now is fairly opaque. Like you look at content online, you don't necessarily know how did it end up in front of your screen? Why are you looking at a thing that's talking about how 5G causes COVID or whatever? And so, for us, it's like, okay, we want to see the world become more transparent. We really want to understand why information flows online. And that therefore leads to a whole bunch of fodder for how we think about the rest of our values and who we do business with and what that actually means for creating our objectives as a company. So that's sort of where we started. And then, for us, we also did our first all hands like in person. We're a virtual company, so I hadn't met like half the team until a couple months ago. And for us, it was like, okay, taking what we had started and really bringing everyone on board to help shape, again, like what they believe our company to be, what they believe aspirationally where we needed to be, and really create that ownership so that we can then moving forward, really, again, put that on paper and start to live consistently, to that aligned sort of agreement.
Cool. Thanks, Nick. Anu.
Yeah, for us, it's simple. It's all about community. Our why is, there's a great book by Simon Sinek talking about it.
Marketing folk are like, yes, of course.
Why? And he actually kind of like looks at the companies that did a great job at integrating you into their vision, into their mission. For example, Apple, right? When they did that 1984 commercial about breaking with society and being a rebel, etc., they kind of like included the Apple audience into the brand, right? They knew that they were going to support that brand, even if it was more expensive, because they want to stick it to the man. And for us, it's very similar. We're a Web3 company. We're literally about sticking it to the man. It's all about decentralization. It's all about owning your data, but it's all about using that data to connect with people like you, and to give your data to people that you want to be engaged by and to connect with like-minded individuals. And, you know, the world is changing. It's a neo-renaissance. We're giving power back to creators. It has never been a better time to actually be an artist, to actually be a musician. And so it's kind of like awesome to be able to give these technology tools so that anyone can do it. And for us, that's why it's all about community, ease of use, which is one of our values. Like, it needs to be grandma friendly. The only way you're going to get to mass adoption is if your grandma can use our product. And, you know, we keep asking ourselves that with every platform that we take on, and we ask our clients the same thing. Like, if I'm speaking to a brand and, you know, I'm speaking to some really big brands, I'm like, are we solving the 3 problems? Authenticity, resale, and engagement. Because if you don't want to be engaged, like we spoke to LVMH a couple months ago, and their use case was, we want to stop resale. I'm like, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be a tough problem to solve. Maybe we can use this to like kind of like, maybe you want to connect with the people that actually own it and build a really cool program so that, you know, if they don't sell it, they'll stay a part of that program. So build real utility. So yeah, and you know, it's all about, it starts with sticking it to the man. That's how we kind of like regain our data.
That's awesome. Thanks, Manu. And Aaliyah.
So first, I love that you brought up Simon Sinek. So I can't tell you how many times we've watched like the original OG YouTube like video of him explaining Start With Why, which is probably one of the very first like TED Talks ever. It's like so old. We'll go watch it anyway. The content is amazing.
Yeah.
And our CEO Damien loves this video. But as we were starting our business, that was one of the first things that we all did together, which was to sit down and for us to all get very, very clear about why we wanted to build this business and why it was important to each of us to build this business, and make sure that we were all aligned from the beginning to build this business and then go out into the world. And so, you know, I kind of mentioned it before, but for us, there's truly a belief that representation is so important. If you can't see yourself on the screen, if you can't see, you know, someone who looks like you and loves like you and identifies like you, then you're going to feel alone, especially we're very lucky on the coasts, but like in the middle of the US, in the Middle East, everywhere around this world, we are a global company. And so what we're doing is literally providing a mirror for people to actually see themselves and know that they're not alone. That's a very big mission to take in and understand that like me uploading this video in our product department isn't just uploading a video, right? It's more than that. And so
you're breaking the hidden bias.
Exactly. It's like it's so important. And so to be able to walk in, everything's so virtual, but like, you know, to be able to work with our team and have them understand that is so vital. And we actually, I feel like similarly with everyone, we had our first like all hands, everyone came out to LA because as, you know, throughout the pandemic, as most businesses, you know, grew, we've got folks everywhere now. And so everyone came into LA, and part of our, you know, retreat was everyone sitting down together and watching Simon Sinek Start With Why, that video, because again, it's so important to always remember to root yourself in why you're doing what you're doing. And so we all as founders kind of talked about why we're doing what we're doing. And then we had the team talk about it too, because I think it's important for all of us to see that together and building, you know, we like to say we are building a community externally, but internally, it's just as vital and important that everyone understands the community that we're building and what we're doing and showing for the world. And as we're not just, you know, watching the video together, but we get messages from all around the world about people being like, this is the first time I've ever seen a story like this, because you know, we're built on the internet. Inherently, we're global. You can find us everywhere. As a result of that, there's been so many places where people have never seen, you know, an LGBTQ story, and they've seen themselves. And so we always make a point to share with the team as well that this isn't us just saying it. There are literally people in the world who are reflecting back to us that what we're doing for them is life-changing.
And his phrase, right? It's people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
I love it. Okay, awesome. So we are going to transition from the panel to